Hello and welcome now to lecture 10. And yeah, let's go ahead and start drawing our bracket now. Let's see what we can do. So I think the first one we'll start on is our front elevation. So sort of imagine standing here and then looking at it directly from this way. So let's do this first. So what can we tell? We can see that it's 90 millimeters wide by 125 millimeters. So let's go ahead and do that first. And we're going to do it in this one here. So go ahead and start typing in rectangle. So I'll just press RE and then I'll select rectangle. And now we'll go ahead and select this top corner here and drag this down to this point. And you can see it's telling us that's 90 millimeters by 125. So I'll go ahead and left click to confirm that. And there we go. It's that easy. We've drawn our first sort of shape. And you can see there straight away our construction lines helping us. Okay, so what's next? So I think the next thing I want to do is create this line here that we'd see from the front elevation. So we need to draw a line here and we need to find out how thick this bracket is. So where is that? Where can we see how thick this is? Here we go. So it's 5 millimeters thick. So that's our next thing to do. So what I'm going to do in this case is go ahead and press L for line. And I'm just going to snap to our construction lines and then pull up like this. And then I'm going to press 5 for 5 millimeters and I'll press enter. And then without pressing escape, I'll go ahead and drag this like this. Make sure you're in orthographic when you're doing this, so press F8 if you're not. And then once you've done that, left click once and then go ahead and press escape. And there we go, now we've got our line in at the 5 millimeters point. So obviously we don't need this part of the line or this part of the line or this one. So now we're going to use the trim function to trim parts of the line we don't need. So let's press T and R and let's select trim. And now just hover over this area here and then go ahead and left click once. Do the same this side, hover over it and left click once, and let's just do the same with that one. And there we go. Now we're going to do a little bit of sort of assigning layers to this. So this outside line here is correct on being the outline layer. So we can see this here in the properties. The layer is outline, and that's the layer that I do want to sort of symbolize the outer edges of our component. But this here is a minor line because it's not an outline. It's a line that exists but not on the boundaries of the object. So for this one we're going to use minor line. So let's press M and let's select match drop. Let's select minor line here and let's go ahead and assign that to that one there like that. And that's cool. That's what we want. Okay, I'm wondering actually if our minor line, if it's actually a little bit too light. I think I'm going to go ahead and darken that up a little bit. So I'm going to go over to layer properties here. And I'm going to go over to minor line and select the color here. And I think I'm just going to make that a little bit darker, maybe like this one, and click OK. And there we go. You can see that it's already made that a little bit more bolder, and that's better. Okay, so we've got those two lines in place. What next? I think let's go ahead and start our holes. I think that's the next thing to do. So I think the first thing I want to do is work 28.75 millimeters down. I want a line down there, so let's do that. So again, I'm going to press L. And I'm going to select line, and I'll just snap to our construction lines, bring this down, and go ahead, type in 28.75 and click enter. And now without pressing escape, I'll bring this line over like this. I'll left click once and I'll go ahead and press escape. And there we go. So now we know how far down our holes are. So now we need to work out how much they're going to be coming over this way. So let's do that next. Let's go back to our images and we want to come over 22.5 millimeters. So let's do that. So again, I'll go ahead and press L, select line, snap to here, bring this over, and let's type in 22.5, enter. And then just drag it down like this, a left click again, and then go ahead and press escape. Okay, so there's two ways of doing this now. We can either repeat that process for the hole on the opposite side here, or we could speed the process up by using the mirror tool. So let's select these two lines like this. So I'll drag a selection box over them. Let's press M and let's select mirror. Now we need to work to the center point of our bracket. So let's hover over this line and move till we find the center point. And there we go. It's calling it the midpoint, and that's fine. So let's left click on this and then just drag up like this. You see this yellow line appear, and let's left click again. And what AutoCAD's going to say is, do we want to erase the object that we copied? And the answer is no, we don't. We want to keep this one too. Okay, so we've got the 2 points for our holes now. So now we need to actually do some holes here. So let's go have a look at the diameter of these holes. And the diameter of these holes is 8 millimeters. So let's go ahead and do that next. So let's go over to our circle up here on the ribbon and drop down on this one. And let's use diameter. So let's click on diameter. Let's snap to the middle here like this, pull this out, and then go ahead and click 8 and then enter. And there we go. That's 8 millimeters. We can check that again with our properties tab. So if we go ahead and select this object, and the diameter is showing 8 millimeters and the radius is 4. So that's great. So again, we could go ahead and do that circle again if we wanted to, or we could use the mirror tool. We could do it this way, or let's just select the object, press C, and let's use the copy. So select copy and then snap to the center point of our lines here. Bring this over and snap to this one like this. Okay, so there's our first 2 lines in place. So let's work on the ones below that. So what have we got now? So our next circles are 57.5 mil down and at the same distance in 22.5. So let's do that 57.5. Okay, to be honest, I was just writing that number down on a notepad so I don't forget it when I come over. So let's do that. Alright, so let's just press L again for a line, and let's snap to this center here, and let's drag down like this, and then let's go ahead and type 57.5, enter. And now let's go ahead and press escape, and there we go. So let's go ahead and select both these. So let's left click and just drag a selection box over both these objects like this. Let's press C, let's select copy, let's move to this point and snap here, which is the center of those holes, and then bring that down to there like that. And there we go, that's cool. So we have the holes all laid out. So now we can go ahead and select these lines, and we can go ahead and delete those, and we can do the same with this one. And there we go, we're nearly done with the front elevation of this bracket. So the next thing we need to do is, the holes here have what's known as countersinks on them, which is sort of recessed areas for the screws to go in so that the screws end up flush with the face of the plate. So we need to add some extra holes to this at 14.5 millimeters. So let's go ahead and do that. So again, let's go over to our circles here and select this. Let's select diameter, and let's go ahead and if we just hover over the circle like this, it will show us the center point of the circle. So then you can go to that center point, and now we can go ahead and put 14.5, enter, and there we go. That's cool. Let's just check that 14.5 was the number, and it was. That's correct. Alright, so the next thing we can do is go ahead and select this line again, and we can press C for copy, select copy, and then go ahead and snap to the center of the circle. And if it's not there, just hover over the edges here until it kind of appears, and then snap to it. And then hover over the edge of this one, and you can see that center coming in, and go ahead and snap to it. And then come on down, hover over this one, and then snap to this. And then the last one to do is right here like this. And there we go. Now we have our countersinks in place. And I think these here, because again, they're not showing a boundary, an edge of our object. It's showing a sort of a detail on our object. So let's go ahead and make those minors. So let's press M and let's match drop. And rather than going over to our layers this time, we can just select our already layer, which is on our minors. Select this and go ahead and change those over to minors like that. Okay, we're nearly done with the first elevation. I think the only thing left to do is go ahead and round off these corners. So let's find out what these radiuses are, and it shows it here. So we have a 5 millimeters radius on this corner. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's move back to our object. And this time we're going to use a function called fillet, which is here on the ribbon. But let's go ahead and press F and let's select fillet. Now, the first thing we have is quite a few different options down here. And the first thing I want to set is the radius. So let's select that. And now let's enter the radius of 5 and then enter. Then it asks us if we want to do multiple. So if we had lots of radiuses apply, we could click on that and we could go ahead and just sort of do it as many times as we want. So we could do that if we want to, but because there's just 2, I'll leave it. And then we can trim, which we'll do as well, which means it'll trim away the excess material, the excess curve, after we've applied the radius. So let's use that. So let's select that one and then we'll go trim, trim. There we go. So now come over to here now and select the first line and then select the second line, and there we go. Our fillet has been applied with a 5 millimeter radius. So rather than press F again to go for fillet, just hit the space bar once, which AutoCAD then will repeat the last command. Select the first line, then the second line, and there we go, that's done. So there we go, there's our bracket on the front elevation, all finished. So in the next lecture, let's go ahead and do the same thing now in the plan view. Okay, thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Bye-bye for now.